you today? I do hope you're doing well. Let's just jump right into things and take a look at Am I the A-hole on Reddit? So our first one today, am I the a-hole for choosing my daughter, I'm guessing, my daughter, over husband? So my husband, who is a 64-year-old male, and I, 65-year-old female, have been married for 20 years. He has two sons, Jason and Craig, both married, 41 and 39. I have two daughters, Jenna and Kira, both married, and they're 38 and 37. All of our kids are independent and living on their own. His boys have families but don't live anywhere near us. My girls recently received an inheritance from their grandfather of close to $1 million each. Oh, they are being responsible with it. One is saving a big portion of it for retirement and her son's education. The other doesn't have kids and doesn't live near us, so this is about the one who lives close to us and has a preschool son, Kyle. My husband has gotten very upset lately about the help I'm giving Jenna with babysitting Kyle for preschool and in the afternoons 2 to 3 days a week. He's a good eater and likes things that are driving up our food bill, maybe 40 to 50 currency a month. Husband resents me not getting paid for the food to a lesser degree my time. He says it isn't fair to his grandkids that they are not being treated fairly. I suggested, okay, so his boys have families, but they don't live anywhere near. Okay. He says it isn't fair to his grandkids that they are not being treated fairly. I suggested he send the grandkids' parents money for treats each month. He wants me to charge Jenna and then not have to give his grandkids anything. I don't want to charge Jenna anything. I don't think grandparents should charge for childcare or food. He gets aggravated if he sees a new colouring book or markers here. He seethes with rage at times if I invite Jenna's family for a meal. He thinks Jenna, and to a lesser degree Kira, should be helping us instead of hoarding their money. He also gets very agitated about me not telling him if Kyle is going to be here. He says that he doesn't feel like it's his home and that I make all the decisions. He's threatening to break up our marriage over the disparity and unfairness of the situation. Some info on our finances. Money isn't plentiful, but we both have pretty good pensions. After our bills are paid, we have between $2,000 and $3,000 a month to spend on groceries, gas, and other miscellaneous expenses. We have very minimal savings. He travels to see his grandkids maybe 2 to 3 times a year. One he flies to see, and the other he takes the train or drives. Average is about maybe 500 a trip. I don't travel at all. He thinks I'm the asshole because I'm willing to risk our marriage over this. If we divorce, we will have to sell our house and neither one of us will be able to afford to live the standard that we have now. Am I the asshole? Honestly, I don't think so. I don't really understand what his problem is. So the daughter, what was her name, Jenna or something? Yeah, Jenna is the only one who lives nearby. So Kyle is the only grandchild that lives nearby. So it's natural that he's going to be the one that they see more often, that it's more practical for OP to look after this particular grandchild. I agree that it's a bit weird to charge your family members and your own daughter for looking after the child and like asking for expenses. I do think that's a bit weird, unless of course they were in a worse financial situation and it was just a case of, look, I don't want to have to ask, but because of the situation we're in, I can't really afford just to look after Kyle without having like any money from you, so I would love to look after him, but if I'm going to do that, then I need a bit of cash, sorry. But if they're in like an okay financial situation, then I think it's a bit weird to charge. And I think that's sort of regardless of what inheritance Jenna's received. Like, I would understand if it was like not a family member, if it was like started out that a friend was doing you a favour and then it just started to be more and more and more, but they never offered to pay anything. I think that would be a bit cheeky. But when it's a family member, yeah, I don't really see it. And even if like I did agree with OP's husband, I don't think that's worth breaking up a marriage over. That seems to be really extreme. And this whole thing about you make all the decisions and it doesn't feel like I'm in my own home, you should have told us Kyle was going to be here. I find that a bit weird. I personally think there's something else going on there, like maybe that this is just one thing in a group of similar things, or like husband for some reason is feeling like insecure about his place in the relationship, which may or may not be valid, I don't know. But just this one situation, I don't think OP is being an asshole here. As I say, I do think that I think if they were to break up over it, it wouldn't be OP's fault. It would be OP's husband's fault because he's the one that was threatening the marriage over it. So it's not OP's fault if that's the way he feels. Do you know what I mean? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Yeah. Because I get a lot of people's parents look after their kids for them, and I'm guessing they don't charge most of the time. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear what you think about that. Next one. Am I the asshole for telling my mum to leave after she said my husband is obviously a better dad than my daughter's dad in front of my daughter? Sorry, the title is so long and confusing. My husband and I are both in our 30s. We're expecting our first child very soon. I also have another daughter who's 8 with my ex. We were together for a few years before having our daughter, but then he met someone else and decided to leave. This was when our daughter was only 2, so she doesn't know much about what happened. My ex didn't really want to be very involved in our lives or co-parenting because he wanted to start over, dick. Anyways, I didn't want my daughter spending so much time with someone who didn't even want to do it, so he got to see her a weekend a month. His new wife treats her politely and he always makes an effort to have fun with her and ask about what happened since they last met. They are obviously not as close as ideally a dad and his kid would be, but it's alright. My mum was very angry about the whole deal because she told me when my ex and I were dating that she didn't think this would end well. She was right and I fully accept that. She thought it was very unfair that her grandchild would not have a good relationship with her dad, at least the kind of relationship she would have wanted her to have. That's a horrible sentence, sorry. It's alright, don't worry. Anyways, the current situation. My mum is staying with me for a few weeks because my due date is very soon. Yesterday, I heard her tell my husband that she knows he's going to be a much better dad than my daughter's dad is because he obviously loves his child a lot already. My daughter was also there and she said, no, my dad loves me too. Oh, poor thing. I was upstairs, but I was trying to come down because I didn't think this was headed anywhere good. My mum told my daughter that she shouldn't lie to herself. What kind of a dad only wants to see their kid once a month? That is completely inappropriate. My daughter ended up crying almost all day. I'm not surprised. I kind of lost it and told her I don't want her staying for the birth. She was also angry and left, and now I feel guilty. She means well, and maybe she's right that I shouldn't mislead my daughter about how much her dad cares. So am I the asshole? I don't think you are. That's a completely inappropriate thing to say to a child of any age. But when a child is that young and they don't know the full story, they're not old enough to have, experienced some stuff and develop their own opinion about the situation, I think that's completely uncalled for. Fair enough, have that opinion. Fair enough, say that to new husband. But to say that, one, in front of the child and not be immediately like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. It's all right, honey, that's not what I meant, or whatever. But then also to double down on that and be like, nah, your father's an asshole, basically. I mean, that's not what she said, but that's kind of what she said. And then she's being angry at OP that she's being told to stop doing that, not even realizing that oh, you know what, actually, that I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. Little girl, are you okay? I don't think that's cool. I think OP is totally in the right for telling the mum to leave in that situation because not only did she do it, but she doesn't see any problem with the fact that she did it. So what's to stop her from doing something like that again in the future? And OP doesn't need that shit. She's about to have another baby. That's the last thing she needs. So no, OP, I don't think you're the asshole. Next. Am I the asshole for refusing to go wedding dress shopping with my sister? So my sister Hannah, who's a 27-year-old female, and I, who am 25, aren't close, and yet she invited me wedding dress shopping with her. She says she wants this to be the start of a better relationship between us, and she wants me by her side for this process because she trusts me. I don't want to go with her. Even with a slightly better relationship, shopping for any clothes is a very hard no for me with her. So I told her I appreciated her wanting us to be closer, but I didn't feel like I should go wedding dress shopping with her. She asked me why exactly. She told me this was her extending the olive branch and trying to fix the issues in her relationship. I told her our history, which includes recent history of as early as 3 months ago, is not good when it comes to her and me and appearance. When we were kids and I was bigger, it happened very suddenly while I was still very young and my parents were concerned, but doctors dismissed it as bad eating habits and not doing enough exercise. I was very self-conscious and my sister mocked me for it a lot. Our parents were furious when she'd open her mouth about it. She called me gross and even took some of my clothes to show off how humongous I was. She'd used the nicknames others had given me, Hally Hippo, as in a hippopotamus, and was really not kind about it. She made it even harder to be like that. Her relationship with her parents was super bad for years because of it. I was 20 when I finally got a doctor to listen to me and explore why the sudden weight gain happened. I ended up needing surgery to remove a mass, which made a huge difference to my appearance. And then I went in the opposite direction and my thyroid made me too skinny. Around the time this happened, Hannah gained some weight. Not a lot. She's not huge by any means, but it made her crazy jealous. She would make snide comments about being super skinny and how unfair it was that I lost all that weight without doing anything. I didn't see her often because our relationship was so bad. But the times I did, she'd make me looking good sound negative. She'd say I didn't deserve it. A couple of years ago, we were both shopping with some cousins and it was just insane how angry she was at me. She called me the luckiest bitch in the world and you don't even like it because I was so tiny. The concerns about being too small, being bad for my health were waved off. 3 months ago, she told me I look smaller every time she sees me and how much she hates me for it. She told me I didn't deserve it. So she's a dick, basically. And now she wants me to go dress shopping with her, which again is why I said no. But she hated that I brought up the past when it's in the past, and she told me this is the fresh start she's offering me. I can't see her not making a lot of nasty comments about dresses and me, especially because I know she feels self-conscious and I can't say I care about her enough to be reassuring. She told me to stop being a dick, stop being selfish, and to give us a chance or else I'm being an asshole. Am I being the asshole? I don't think you are. I think she's the asshole, and this was as recently as 3 months ago. Don't get me wrong, I understand it being like I'm extending an olive branch. I would like a relationship to be better. But according to OP, and we don't know how biased this is, but this is all we have to go off. According to OP, the sister is really not letting up on this. I hate you. You don't deserve this. I'm going to talk about your weight all the fucking time. I've said this before. One should not comment on another person's weight unless you're specifically being asked about it. You just shouldn't. Like, it's completely disrespectful and unnecessary. It's none of your fucking business what weight somebody is or why they're that weight or what health concerns they have. It's none of your business unless they bring that up with you, you know, unless they invite you to talk about that. But OP clearly hasn't done that here. So I completely understand why she doesn't want to go. Even if there wasn't all that backstory, even if she didn't want to go because like shopping with her is just like a dreadful experience and it always goes badly, she doesn't want that kind of negativity, even that would be fair enough. But with the backstory as well, I completely understand why she doesn't want to go, and I don't think that makes her the asshole. I think if the sister had been like, yeah, I understand, like, what I've said in the past has been really bad, I promise I won't say anything like that in the future, please will you reconsider, then okay, maybe think about it. But by being like, you're a dick, you should come with me, you're just being selfish, that just proves that she hasn't changed at all. She's exactly the same way she was before, and she's probably going to be the same once you go dress shopping. So sure, try and strengthen the relationship if you want, but it sounds as if she's just talking bullshit, to be honest. So no, I don't think Opie is the asshole. I think the sister's the asshole. Next. Am I the asshole for telling someone she needs to let someone babysit her youngest son sometimes? Why are we commenting on other people's children? My sister Lainey? I'm going to call her Lainey. My sister Lainey, 30-year-old female, has 2 sons, Jake, who's 6, and Luke, who's 1. She's a single mum, and the boys have 2 different dads and are both uninvolved. Until Luke was born a year ago, Lainey and Jake had their things together, that mum-son time for them to just bond. Jake loved it, and when it stopped after Luke was born, it really hurt his feelings. Lainey told him that mum-son time had to stop now that he had a brother who needed her time. Girl, that was your first mistake. But where the problem comes in is Lainey has no problem sending Jake to me or her parents or her grandparents while she spends mum-son time with Luke. A few times we've offered to babysit Luke so she can have time with Jake as well, but she's always said no, and he's only 6 years old. In recent weeks, Lainey has been complaining that Jake doesn't seem to like Luke and has shown zero interest in playing with him or interacting with him. Well, you're basically pitting them against each other for your time and affection, so I'm not surprised. She told me Jake refused to sit with Luke when she asked him to so she could get some photos of them, and another day he waited to eat his lunch until she had Luke down for a nap, even though she knew he was hungry. She told me Jake won't even touch Luke or look at him. I asked her if she felt like it might be jealousy because Luke gets time with her alone when Jake doesn't. She said no. I told her Jake asked for mum-son time with her and she said no. She told me because he's a big boy and Luke is a baby. I told her Jake was still her baby too and deserved her time just as much as Luke. She asked what she would do with Luke and I told her we'd offer to babysit so she could have time with Jake. Just like we do with Jake and did even when he was a baby. She told me it wasn't happening. So basically she sees a problem with her kids but she's not willing to do anything to fix it. A few days ago, she started complaining again about Jake not paying attention to Luke and acting so resentful of him. I told her I explained how she could help with that and she ignored me. She told me I gave her no valid advice. I said I had and she ignored it. I told her she needs to let us babysit Luke sometimes or Jake is going to continue feeling replaced and resentful and she'll push him away and never successfully get him to bond with Luke. Reasonable. She told me I had no right to tell her what to do and fuck me because I'm still a kid, 21, and don't need to interfere in her parenting. Am I the asshole? In context, I don't think so because she's specifically complaining to you about this situation more than once. She's specifically bringing it up in conversation and I'm assuming asking for your advice. So what are you supposed to do and say? Are you supposed to just be like, I'll keep my mouth shut because you don't want to hear the answer? Which, if that was your choice, that would be fair enough. But if someone brings up a conversation with you, like for example with the weight, if someone brings up their weight with you and then you ask questions or you make comments, give advice because that person brought up that subject, you can't really get mad at that because you're the one that brought it up. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you expect? Just to talk to this person, talk at this person and for them to just not respond? Do you know what I mean? So whilst I would usually say don't comment on other people's kids that they're parenting unless there's some sort of safety issue, then yeah, don't comment. But in this case, she asked, she brought it up. So I don't think you're the asshole. And it's not like you're saying anything that's unreasonable or like having a go at her, being like, you're actually a fucking terrible mother. It's just, hey, I think this may be the reason and it may lead to further issues. I can help you solve this problem. So I think it's completely reasonable, honestly. Next, am I the asshole for telling my friend his wife deserves better? One of my friends, who's a male, has been married for a few years now and I always thought he had a beautiful marriage. He recently told me how he was talking to someone simply for an ego boost. Oh God. He approached this girl at the club, got her number and exchanged calls and messages for some week. Girl, that's more than just an ego boost. That's basically cheating on your wife at this point. That's not cool. I was shocked and told him he's cheating and needs to stop what he was doing. He acknowledged it was wrong but didn't consider this cheating because he was just simply exchanging texts and was never going to see the girl again. Semantics. This was all just a temporary thing. I asked him, how would you feel if your wife did this behind your back? I was shocked that he didn't understand how serious this was. Frustrated but genuine, I told him his wife deserves better and he needs to tell her. He was offended and we haven't talked since. Edit and update. I really appreciate the responses and sound feedback here. I decided I'm going to reach out to this friend again, explain my reaction, and also get the confirmation that this stopped and he's working on himself the way that he needs to. I intend to do this all in person. Edits. I haven't used Reddit much before, so forgive me for doing this incorrectly, addressing some of the things to give more clarity. So one of my friends, male, and I, female, there was a reason I started clarifying this but hastily posted without double checking. I'm a few months straight and for that reason not trying to sleep with or in love with my friend's wife. Some folks asked to define talking. To start with, he definitely flirted with this girl to get her number. I feel that's obvious. After that, from the messages he flashed when I asked him to show me what he meant, it was stupid and just straight conversation, part of the reason I responded why I did. Messages like, hey, how are you, what have you been doing, etc. Okay. Time, the messaging wasn't consistent for weeks, but it spanned over a few weeks at the time. He mentioned it a week ago, meaning no daily calls and texts, but scattered calls and texts across what I'm guessing was 2 weeks before he mentioned it to me, which regardless is equally terrible and stupid whatever the time frame here. My place, yes, I don't know every detail of their marriage, but I think that's the case in general, but since he didn't mention established boundaries when we had this conversation, I can guarantee they didn't exist. I have not shut out my friend on my end. Instead, he's been avoiding me and I agree with folks who think it's simply out of embarrassment and shame. I agree with folks here. I hit him with a harsh truth that he needed to hear. I'll give it a few more days, maybe the weekend, but I do intend to reach out. So am I the asshole for saying that his wife deserves better? I don't think you are. I agree that it's it's basically cheating. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good and it is better that at least they're not having like sexual or flirty texts. It's just normal, like, hey, how are you, how's it going? But the intent matters. The intent was that he approached this woman wanting an ego boost. You don't go up to someone trying to make a new friend as an ego boost. You go up to someone with romantic or sexual intentions for an ego boost. So I think that's what matters, and that's what makes this scummy. I also feel like as well, if your friends aren't going to tell you the truth and be the ones to say when you're being a dick, who else is going to do it? Do you know what I mean? I think that's part of being close with someone, is that you can turn around and say, like, that was fucking awful. Like, that's not cool. I don't think you should do that. People should be able to call each other out. Do you know what I mean? Well, if you're just acquaintances, I can understand if maybe you didn't want to do that or whatever. But even if you were just acquaintances, like, you're correct. So you would be within your right to make that comment. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's the one sharing, oh yeah, I've been texting this woman. Do you know what I mean? So again, he's the one that brought it up. I don't think you're the asshole. In terms of like the embarrassment and stuff, yeah, he's probably embarrassed and ashamed. So yeah, that's probably why he's avoiding you. What else was it? OP said, I intend to reach out. Where was it? Yeah, I intend to reach out, explain my reaction, also get confirmation that he stopped and is working on himself. Honestly, I don't see the need to reach out. If you want to, then that's fine, but I don't think you need to, because you haven't done anything wrong. You don't need to explain your reaction. I think it's pretty fucking clear. I mean, if he's embarrassed and you just want to be like, hey, there's no need to be embarrassed, but my point still stands, then that's up to you. But I don't think that you owe him that. I don't think it's on you. Confirmation that he stopped. Sure, whilst that would be nice, I kind of, like, not that it's not your place or that there's no need, but do you know what I mean? I just don't know what benefit there would be for you or the situation for you to get confirmation that it stopped. If it stopped or not, that's kind of between him and his wife at this point. I don't know what benefit that would do you to know, unless that maybe has an effect on whether or not you want to remain friends with him. And that he's working on himself the way that he needs to. If as a friend, yeah, that's probably something that you would want to know for him, other than anything else. But yeah, and of course, you know, some people have open relationships, or you know, things where they say, yeah, you can flirt, just don't get physical, and that's totally fine. But I think if that was the situation, then he would have said that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for telling my best friend of, is this best friend? My best friend of 10 years that she's a horrible person? This is kind of similar. I am 18-year-old female and have been best friends with a girl, let's call her Lee, who's also 18-year-old female. She's been through a lot and has picked up smoking, vaping, etc. She dropped out of high school, is unemployed, and overall has no motivation in life. I've highly encouraged her to try to gain independence as she relies on her mother for everything. She refuses. For future context, her parents are going through a divorce right now and her mum is working 2 jobs. I called her yesterday and she asked me if I could get cash back at Aldi's. I asked why and she said, well, my mum won't buy me a nick and I'm out. What's a nick? Oh, like nicotine? So I'm gonna take her card, get 20% cash back and tell her I got food. That's not cool. I was shocked and said, wait, so you're stealing from your mum? She immediately gets super defensive, saying, well, I'm out of nicotine, I need it, etc. As someone who doesn't use nicotine, I don't see the issue. She gets paid about $50 a week for helping her mum clean, so I saw no reason why she couldn't wait for that. 50 is a lot for pocket money, which essentially is what this is, pocket money. I told her that my mum works really hard, working 2 jobs, trying to provide for 3 kids. She started going off on me, saying my mum has money, I know she does. She's getting money from dad from the divorce. Well, I know that is 100% untrue. Her mum works 2 jobs and is never home and is always worried about money. I told her that even if her mum does have money, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because you're still fucking stealing from her. Lying to her mum is still something super crappy, especially when her mum pays for food, hair care, clothing, even for fun stuff she likes to do over the weekend. I expressed that it's unfair to her mother and is super selfish to say that it's okay to steal from her just because I need to take a hit. She tried defending herself. I need it. It's my mum. It'll be fine. She won't know I've done it before, as if that makes it fucking better. And I just keep reiterating about how crappy it is that she did it. I made sure to specify that I support her, but not that action. I can't get behind her stealing from her mum for a non-necessity. I'm not the type to go to her mother and tell her, but I highly encouraged her to give back the money she's taken in the past and to get over it and simply wait for more money in the future that is actually hers. After like the 5th time I heard her say, well, I need it, I got fed up and told her that only a horrible person would do that to their own mother. Eventually, she got fed up, told me to block her and hung up on me. She has since sent me passive-aggressive messages saying, well, you made me feel bad, so now I don't have nicotine. Pathetic. And all I say to that is, well, good. Good for you. So basically, my friend is stealing from her mother. I call her out. She gets mad at me. I tell her that she shouldn't, and she ends up mad at me and hangs up on me. Am I an asshole? Girl, no. Again, I think this is just a case of being like a genuine friend who is good enough to tell you when you're doing something that's not okay, to call you out, to hold you accountable. I think that this is clearly needed. At first when I was reading it and it was like, oh, she's been through some shit and now she's vaping and smoking and she's unemployed, like I was thinking, well, maybe she's just having a fucking hard time with it and maybe this is just her way of like, you know, trying to gain some control in her life or expressing herself wherever. But actually it's not even about that, it's just the fact that she's fucking stealing from her mum, which is not cool. So yeah, not the asshole. Have you ever stolen from someone or stolen something from like a shop or wherever? The only time when I almost accidentally stole something, like I was really young, I can't remember how old I was maybe like 13, 14. No, must have been younger than that. Must have been like 12 or 13. And I was in the shop and I was pushing my cousin in the pram, or the buggy if you want to call it that, and I needed pencils for school, so I got the pencils and I put it on top of the pram, and then I forgot that I had it there, and then I walked out of the shop. And because it was just pencils, like nothing beeped or anything like that. But then when I realised what I'd done, I went back to the shop and I paid for them. Because I'm not like that. I don't steal shit, okay? I just don't think that it's a good thing to do. And see this whole thing about like, oh, like it's only like this big company and it's not hurting anyone, blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you think people get paid? Like, all that makes a difference. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, not really relevant. Last one. Am I the asshole for being frustrated that my husband won't read the book I'm writing? I mean, you can be feeling some type of way, but it's his choice. Let's read. I'm a 25-year-old female, I'm an author. I've been writing a fiction book for the last 2 years and I'm nearly finished with it. I asked my husband, who's a 28-year-old male, to read it and give me his opinion, but he told me he doesn't like reading and told me it's probably great anyway. However, he will gladly and willingly read hundreds of hours of video game lore, random wiki pages on the most random stuff, etc., not just short stuff either. That is different. As a person who does not generally enjoy reading non-fiction, who doesn't enjoy reading fiction, because this is like not real fiction book, I generally don't like that, but I will read articles, I'll read like wiki pages or whatever, I'll research topics and read a lot of stuff about them, but that's completely different to reading fiction. So I get it. But when I ask him to read the book I'm writing, he just says no. The part that really frustrates me is that he'll tell me he doesn't want to read it, but then he constantly reads over my shoulder while I'm writing or rereading my chapters, and he wants to know everything that's happening. I know I get defensive when he reads over my shoulder because in my mind, if you're so interested, just read it. Yeah, but maybe that's his way of showing interest, being like, yeah, I don't want to read the whole fucking thing, but I'm still interested in your creative project and what you're doing. Tell me what happens in your book. What part are we up to now? Do you know what I mean? I think that's nice. It's better than just completely not showing any interest at all, you know, just wanting to read little snippets here and there. Then I don't have to stop what I'm doing and describe years worth of book to you. You'll just already know because you read it. I know I shouldn't get defensive, but I need some input. Is it assholey to feel this way? As a side note, I've offered to read it to him as well, as he's a fan of YouTube video lore and audiobooks, but he's always said no to that too. Fair enough, if you offered to read it to him as well and he said no, then okay. But I do kind of feel like being read to and listening to an audiobook is different, because when you're listening to an audiobook, it doesn't really matter that much if you're not paying attention. You can rewind it, you can sort of play it at your own pace, take breaks and stuff. But if someone is like physically reading it to you, that has a bit of a different vibe. Do you know what I mean? there's a lot of pressure in that, let's say. So I get that too, to be honest. I get that too. Especially if like you're basically there like watching, like, do you like it? Do you like it? Do you think this is good? Do you know what I mean? Like that's a bit fucking much. I just say I don't think that you're an asshole to feel some type of way, but I think that you should also recognise that he is taking interest in your book, that it's not a personal thing. And yeah, it's like, it's not that he's not being supportive or anything. I do think it's nice that he's showing an interest. So I think it's okay to feel a little bit frustrated, but also see the good sides, and also don't then actually like take it out on him. Don't tell him that he's like a shitty person or that, you know, that's terrible. Don't go in a mood with him or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Because what would be worse if he said, sure, I'll read it, and then he never fucking bothered. At least he's told you he doesn't want to read it. You know? Alright, that was the last one I had for us today. What did you think about that? When I was picking these, there were lots of, you know, again, wedding related, pregnancy related ones. I don't know why there's always so many of those, but I think I managed to pick out some that were a little bit different, apart from those two ones with the friends. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you think about these stories in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Bye.